Hey guys, this is Nikki from Compass 365, and today I'm going to be doing a short video on a Power Automate flow that sends an Outlook email. What I really want to highlight in this video is that we are using an environment variable that specifies the environment we are in, whether it's dev, test, or prod, and using that value that determines what kind of email we are sending and to who we are sending it to. This is a strategy that we use a lot here, and we found it to be very helpful if we want to differentiate emails or other actions in a flow between dev, test, and production environments. So I already have my flow set up here. This is just an instant flow because I just want to press a button and trigger it. And the first thing we see here are these three initialized variables. So I want everything in this workflow to be dynamic based on environment. So I'm going to set up variables for my email recipients, my email subject, and my email body. The next thing I'm going to do is start determining who I'm sending this email to based on the environment. I have a get items action looking up to a SharePoint list called people by environment, and my filter query is title is equal to this environment variable called blog post dash environment. Let's first go take a look at this SharePoint list, people by environment. So this is a really simple SharePoint list. We just have the title field and a person field, which is a people picker, and we have dev, test, and prod. And then this is who I would be sending the email to if it's one of these three environments. I have them all set to myself right now for the purposes of this video, but these can obviously be toggled to whoever the email would need to be sent to in the three environments. So now we can kind of make this more sense. Make more sense. This filter query is directly referencing the title field, which equals either dev, test, or prod, and that is looking up to this environment variable that I have called blog post environment. I have my value set to dev right now in all caps. And when I migrate the solution to a testing environment, I would change the values to test in all caps. And when I migrate the solution to the production environment, I would change it to prod in all caps. So this is just going to dynamically pull the correct row from the SharePoint list based on whatever this environment variable says the environment is. This is where I'm actually setting the variable for email recipients. So you can see that this automatically put me into an apply to each loop. Based on what our SharePoint list looks like, we know that there's actually only going to be one row that gets returned from our get items, but the apply to each action just comes up automatically. So we do have our value being the output of the get items above, and we are setting the email recipients to the title of the person, the people picker field, which is person, and their email object. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to use a switch on that environment variable that contains dev, test, or prod. So my on is again that environment variable, and we're either going to hit dev, test, or prod, and this is where we're going to specify the different stuff that we're saying in the email subject and body depending on environment. The first thing I want to call out here is just the email subject. This is something else that we found to be very helpful when creating workflows here at Compass that send emails. We found it really helpful to prefix the email subject with the environment. So in dev, I'm going to have parentheses dev parentheses dash whatever else is in my email subject. In test, I'm going to actually have the same structure, but it would return test. And then in production, I do not have this prefix because there is no need to send a prefix to end users because it just wouldn't mean anything to them. In dev and test for developers and testers, this is pretty helpful just to make sure that the email is being sent from the right environment and just helps keep track of things that are happening during development and testing. Here is our email body for dev. I'm just using some HTML to send a super basic email. If we scroll over to test, again, I just have a really basic email. I'm going to take away this space here. And then in production, you can see that the message is a little bit different. It's, this is important, this is production. And we, again, are just using these HTML tags for our email body. So I'm going to close the switch now and just show the send an email action. And you can see that I have inputted my email recipients variable for the two. my email subject variable for the subject, and my email body variable for the body of the email. You can see that I do have this switched into HTML view. That is because my email body variable does contain the HTML tags. So in order for that to read properly when the email gets sent, and rather than just like showing plain text HTML tags, you have to make sure you are in the HTML view when you put this variable in here. I skipped ahead a little bit here of me running my flow 3 times for 3 different environment variable values for the environment. And here are the 3 emails that I generated. We have our development email with our dev prefix in the subject. We have our test email with the test prefix in the subject. And then we have our production email with no prefix because it doesn't really have that much value in the production environment. And that is all that I have to share today for this really simple sending an email flow. What I really want to highlight is that by using this environment variable that stores either dev, test, or prod, depending on what environment you're in, you're able to do different things in your workflow. And one really useful application of this is the one I showcased in this video, is sending different emails with different email subjects, different email bodies to different people based on dev, test, or production environment. Thanks guys, and I hope you enjoyed the video.